First, the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Check out all the sponsors listed there. We have a number of sponsors that I don't give enough shout-outs for. So there's a huge list there, and we've redone the website, so go check it out. I want to thank Rhino Metals for all the tables, Gallo Technologies for all the walls behind us. Of course, I have to thank Blackwater Ammunition. It's tough getting ammo today. Galco Leather, Galco Holsters. Appreciate everything that they do, always. And Riton Optics. Shout out to Riton Optics. Appreciate them. All those guys. Can't thank them enough. The show wouldn't happen without them. Leave a review. Everywhere podcasts are heard, especially on iTunes, we can always use the reviews. If you haven't left a review, I'm always doing different contests, different stuff for reviews for guys and gals that support the show. So I appreciate them. It means a lot. We got a special guest today. Today's going to be a good one. I'm excited. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get into some stuff. I haven't even scratched the surface with this whole crew over at USCCA. It's a good crew there. But we got a special guest today. We got the one and only Joanna Clodfelter. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going terrific. So this is a lot of fun because this is an organization I think not a lot of people know a lot about and doesn't get enough airtime, maybe, right? Might be fair to say. And I think it's worth kind of chatting about. I want to first take a step back, though, before we get into it. I want to kind of understand, because you came from the fashion industry, how you ended up in this business and what the hell you're doing here.
Great question. So I grew up in Indiana, which means that you have a gun in your hand by the time you're 11. But as an adult, I've always lived in big cities. And I even lived in a country that banned firearms after their first mass shooting. So I was one of the people that thought maybe guns were the problem. I didn't want to own a gun. And then 4 years ago, I moved to Birmingham, Alabama. And
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. And about 6 months after I moved there, I was attacked in my own home for 7 hours before I was able to escape. And so let's just say that I very, very, very quickly changed my mind about not only owning a firearm, but I sought out the best training that I could find. I trained one-on-one for 2 months with somebody because my personal knowledge is understanding what that situation looks like and how it's going to go down. And you really have to learn how to defensively shoot to save yourself. So that's what it is. That's why I work in this industry now, because it's so important to me.
Well, don't just glaze over that. A 7-hour attack.
You notice that? Just glaze right over.
I mean, a 7-hour attack is really
brutal.
The trauma that comes along with that and just all that's involved and everything that's encompassing not only just changes your tune. I think changes your tune is like a gross understatement, but it changes your life, changes your whole everything. 100%. So you go through this experience, which is like, and you don't have to get too deep into it, but you go through this experience and it's set something off inside you, something chemical. Mm-hmm. Whatever. And you take the steps to empower yourself is really the best way to look at it, right? You're like, I'm going to take these steps.
Well, I didn't really have a choice. So the person was arrested 2 weeks after. Mm-hmm. So I left Alabama immediately that night when the police left my house. And I came back after I got word that they had located him and he'd be arrested the next day. And so the assistant district attorney had told me that, hey, he's got a really high bond, felony charges. He's going to be in there for a while, right? So I'm at my house the day after this person was arrested and just getting shit done. And I'd been out of town for a while. And the detective on the case called me and he said, Joanna, where are you? And I said, I'm in my house. And he goes, leave now. Get out. He's being released. So apparently in Alabama, if somebody in your family owns their home outright, they can put it up. It's property bond. So this person was actually walking the streets of Birmingham for 2 years while I was waiting for this to go to trial. And the DA had said, hey, even with everything, with your police report, 911 call, hospital report, photos, all the things, if you're not there to testify, it's really hard to get a conviction. And bad guys know that. So that's why I really didn't have a choice but to learn how to protect myself, to train myself so much because I feared every single day that this person was going to come back and kill me.
It's kind of wild in so many ways you can't live like that, right? Like, so you have to do something about it, right? You can't, so you have to do something about it. What made you take the first steps even to begin to say, like, I need to protect myself? I need to, like, what's the, I don't know, because I have that. I can admit I never had that experience. I can't say right. I had this trigger moment. What's the, how does that play out?
Well, so after this person was released, waiting to go to trial, I moved into a hotel, and the police department would patrol the parking lot for me every night. But the rental house that I was in, they were not able to re-rent it. And so I couldn't get out of the lease. So I had to move back into my house. And that was awful because the person obviously knew where that was. And so, so you're right, though. You do get to a point where eventually you've got to not let your guard down, but it's a lot. It's a lot of internal stress to walk around every day. My firearm instructor used to say to me, "Hey, Joanna, your gun's in the kitchen. You go to the bathroom. Are you armed?" "No, I'm not armed." And this person came into my home. This started around lunchtime at noon. So it's not like it was, you think you're safe. You're conditioned white. I'm in my house and the door isn't locked. The alarm's not set. I live in a neighborhood. It doesn't matter, and before that experience, I did what everybody else does. When you leave, when you go out of town, my alarm's set, all the things, which is ridiculous because that's saying that my property is more important than my life. You know what I mean? Like, we need to be the most important thing in our homes while we're there.
Yeah. I think once you have an experience like that, can you ever go back in the home?
I had to.
Yeah. But you don't want to, right?
No. Yeah. I had to. And when my lease was up, I obviously got out of Dodge. But yeah, it was terrible. And, there was lots of court dates leading up to it. And they just hold the person for 10 minutes. So I would have to go back and see this person in a courtroom. And then they would hold him for 10 minutes for me to be able to get to my vehicle and leave. And it's tough because you can only take that for so long. And then you have to get yourself to a better mental place. And so I would honestly say the first 1 to 2 years, I'd say the first 2 years afterwards, I wasn't there. So people at that time told me, once they found out I had a gun and how trained I was to use it, they said, "Joanna, you need to do this for work." And I just wasn't ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it brings it back. And so totally. I needed to wait enough years to where I can talk about it and where I can be a very effective firearm instructor and not be having those moments or those memories come back to me. And it took time to get there.
Does it feel good to talk about it now?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it feels good, but it doesn't bring anything back. And it's so important to me. Like when I am in a class or I'm talking at a seminar or an attorney seminar and I'm sharing this, it is because I truly care about every human being in that room. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so I'm very direct. I'm very bossy, if you will, as an instructor and as what I do for the USCCA. But it's because I care so much and I've been there. And that's what I tell women. I'm like, listen, I get it. If you don't feel comfortable carrying right now, then you shouldn't. Like, it comes with a great responsibility, but you need to carry something. You know what I mean? A knife, a flashlight, pepper spray, whatever it is, a taser, depending on where you live. Something.
I don't want to say I love these stories because that's not the right thing to say, but it's great to see whether it's a female or male, anybody come out and share these stories, because I think there's a lot of different instructors out there. And I know some people in this room understand what I'm saying. There's instructors out there that teach just because they want to be the biggest badass in the room. And there's instructors out there that teach from very real operational experience. Then there's people that teach from a very serious, traumatic life experience. And all bring a different tone to the teaching and to the instructing. But I feel as if this is a part of the instructing, or a tone that everybody who carries a firearm at some point should hear. It's kind of like everybody should have pizza at some point in their life, right? Like everyone should have pizza. That's just the real reality. At some point, everybody should hear about an experience like this, the raw emotion of it, what happened, the trauma, so they understand that it's real. Like a lot of people accuse me of being obviously very outspoken, very, I am who I am. But I tell people this all the time when they ask me, about like protecting their home, or they get into that type of dialogue. I say, listen, there's one thing you have to understand. You have to establish this in your mind. The moment someone kicks in a door, they're not kicking in the door to buy you lunch. They're kicking in the door to rape you and kill you. And I'm that way because they have to understand the mindset of the person coming through the door. And I can't do that as effectively as obviously you can, because having lived through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is how there's two huge things that I took away from it. One is how fast an incident like that goes down. I mean, it's a split second that you're going to have to make a decision that I am in imminent deadly danger and I need to save my life. A split second. Because 1 second too long, his hands are on you. And I can tell you, 230-pound man, no chance. Zero chance whatsoever. So I am very, very aware of that. The other reason why I am so passionate about what I do is because honestly, the worst part of that day, and this is what I told the district attorney on the case, they were going to make a deal with him to spare me the trial. And the charge that they were going to drop, I literally lost my mind because I was like, listen, you can get over the physical injuries. You really can. The neck heals, all the things. What I couldn't get over for years and what I had to get counseling for was, and I wish that I never knew this feeling. I wish I could have lived my whole life and not known it. It is that feeling that you are getting ready to die or be killed and it's not your time. And that for 7 hours was the worst thing in the world for me, that knowing I'm getting ready to die and it's not my time and I can't get out of this, And so that is something that is effing awful. And so if I can train people how to avoid ever having to feel that, you know what I'm saying, then my job's done.
Home invasion and that type of, I guess you'd call it kidnapping, right? I mean, at that point, it's a insanely scary thing. And it's scary to think about if you're someone's friend or family member that's lived through it or been through it, because I think of it and I liken it to, we've all had friends that committed suicide. We've all had friends that we've lost. And the reason I get sad, and as I've gotten older, I've, gotten really understand my emotions a lot better. I get sad because you start to think of that person in that scenario, and they probably died alone and they were probably scared. And that's a terrifying thing to think about. And when you're in that position, it's once you are, that could happen any second. That's when it's the most terrifying, like that mindset, like you said, you can't shake that. Because I think of friends that, that have lost, that have committed suicide, and that's what I think about. Not the things that led up to it, because you can second guess those 500 times. I could have called one more time. I could have done this one more time. And I just went through it a few months back. I mean, I just went through it with a friend, and you play that whole game in your head. In these scenarios, it's a different kind of Kim's game, a different kind of brain scenario. But you think of that. You think of them alone and feeling like they had no one to talk to and probably scared. And you never want to think of someone you care about or love in that way, ever.
Nope. And you're right, because I'm sure that they were. And that's very sad. It's that was the worst part of that day. 100% the worst part.
Now, we're not getting into the legalese of it all, but it's because it's not where I go. But you turn the corner at some point in all this. You turn the corner.
Yep.
You push through, and you develop this love for passing on the message.
Well, sort of, yeah.
And how do you get into it? Are you just like, you open the phone book and you're like,
no, man, listen, it's weird. It's just sometimes things just fall in your lap. So what happened? This is why I took this job at the USCCA. So what happened was I carried everywhere I went, everywhere, because those 2 years I was waiting for it to go to trial. And that lasted for less than a year. So I stopped carrying my firearm for over a year while this person was still walking the streets of Birmingham. And the reason why was because, like I said a minute ago, when I have that knowledge, that firsthand knowledge, I mean, we know the statistics, you know, a knife wielding man can cover 21 feet in 1.5 seconds, but I know actually how fast it's going to go down, that you have to make a decision to save your life. You know what I'm saying? And it terrified me. It terrified me because now I became hyper aware of all dangers that were around me in public after that.
You're staring at a cricket shit in the branches.
100%. So I was terrified that I was going to feel that I was in imminent deadly danger and I was going to react on it, and the police or an itchy DA or whoever would disagree and I would go to jail. So I stopped carrying my firearm for 2 years because of that. So what happened was I decided I was going to go back to work. So I've been trading stocks the last several years. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to get out of the house and go get a job. So I came across the USCCA on LinkedIn, Delta Defense. And I was like,
who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah, who the fuck are these guys? It's so fucking cool. You know what I mean? So long story short, I read about all of it and all the legal protection that they award you. And so
it's good. It's good messaging. It's good messaging.
Oh, it's fantastic. So I actually reached out to Alan, my firearm instructor, because we obviously became close friends after, paying him $25,000 to instruct me. And I was pissed. Was so mad at him because I was like, listen, like, would you have that sort of connection, you know what I mean, with an instructor? Like we became very good friends. I bought every single thing he told me to, down to the holster that I used, the defensive ammo, the sights, everything Alan recommended 4 years ago. That's what I use. And I was like, why in the hell didn't you tell me that legal protection is available for responsibly armed people? And he was like, Joanna, I didn't know. And then, of course, he yelled at me because I hadn't carried in a few years.
Now it's like an infomercial.
So it was literally, though, like it was just awesome. So I applied for the job. Apparently, they'd been interviewing for it for like 5 months and they couldn't find anybody in Alabama. Tom, who was like my boss's boss's boss when I was at corporate training, he was like, I thought we got catfished. He was like, we've been interviewing for Alabama for 5 months.
We were hoodwinked.
Yeah. So that's it. And I love it.
Now, USCCA, in the spectrum of things, you touched on it. It represents not only insurance, education.
Lots of education and training.
Yep. Training.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a lot of moving parts to it. And I feel one of the things I want you to get into, because it's a failure of the industry and a failure of USCCA, challenge to Kevin and the crew there. You got to get the message out because people don't know. And it's a never-ending challenge. It's, I love what they're doing. It's just, it's you're never going to do enough. So
right.
You have to constantly get that message out there and constantly push it. Now, to bring awareness to it, USCCA is something, and stop me at any time, is something that people need to purchase, an insurance that people need to purchase, a protection, but also adds the training element and offers courses and everything else, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can sign up for it and it's ongoing, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So basically, you're protected for any act of self-defense, any legal weapon whatsoever in all 50 states. Technically Puerto Rico and Guam too. But yeah, so it's a monthly membership. Mm-hmm. And then you get access to like attorney webinars once a month, which are awesome because like the one that we had, I think a month or two ago, was based on the protests and when they turn violent and when we are not in imminent danger and we cannot act. So it's a lot of, really the objective is to train people. We do a lot of situational awareness training, proving ground series, how to deal with an intruder in your home, because we want you to survive. We do a lot of situational awareness training because here I'm a certified firearm instructor. But hey, if I'm in a shootout with somebody 8 to 10 feet from me, it is not a guarantee that I'm going to survive that. So I do a lot of training on situational awareness, all the things. And but when the day comes that shit goes down, I have $2.25 million sitting there for me. I've got $250,000 for my criminal defense, and I've got $2 million for my civil trial and my damages. And so it's just a good feeling just to know that, hey, if I ever have to make a decision, if somebody puts me in that position again, I will have the very best attorney available to me and paid for,
And what's the average cost? Do you know the average cost of of a trial like that, or how that plays out? Is it just, it varies?
It varies so much that I honestly try not to give averages because it really depends. It depends on if it goes through grand jury. I mean, if you're looking at a full blown trial, you're well into six figures past. You know what I'm saying? Like it just depends on what the charge is. It depends on how far it goes, all those things.
Yeah. I mean, I had a I had a friend of mine. He had a great quote. He goes, "You can do anything you want in America as long as you can afford the lawyer to pay for it." He's like, OJ got off. You can do anything.
But OJ got off, right?
But he lost civilly.
Yeah. It's a much lower burden of proof, and people don't get that. These civil suits are so common in situations like this because it's not even just the person that could sue you, the bad guy. It's his family. It's all that. We had a situation where the intruder, convicted felon, mind you, broke into one of our members' house with a stolen firearm. Long story. Come to find out, so the intruder lost his life, all right? We had a responsible gun owner. However, he apparently had a 12-year-old son from a previous relationship. That kid's mom was expecting 6 more years of child support.
Oh.
So she came back and sued the homeowner for $70,000 to collect on the 6 years of child support.
And she won, no problem.
She would have won. The USCCA in that situation, what we did is we went to our member and we say, hey, we're going to leave it up to you. If you want to fight this, we will pay the attorney and you can fight it. Average civil suit, 5 to 7 years in the U.S. If you want to make it go away, we'll make it go away. So we pay the attorney to do up the paperwork. The USCCA stroked the check for $70,000 for the kid's mom, and it was done in like 3 weeks. So
it's not worth it.
But that's why we exist, because some freaking convicted ex-felon breaks into somebody's house, and now that's going to ruin that person's life. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to bankrupt themselves to deal with this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense as to why you would get a membership. Now, the thing I would hate about your job, if I may, or I would hate
Bring it. What's up?
And I know you'll probably agree with me, and I think every employee there will, would be you must go into every meeting and you get this guy. What if I do this? And you have to answer those questions. They're the worst questions in the like. It's the equivalent of the what handgun should I buy?
That is hilarious. No, actually, the questions that I get are amazing, and I love that people. I feel like I've done my job. If I've got your wheel spinning and you're asking me all kinds of questions, I did have one though.
There's always the one.
I did a free church congregation training. There was this old man. Oh my God, he was so funny.
He wants to execute people.
No,
in his
he
basement.
wanted to know the number of bullets, the number of rounds he can put in somebody if they're in his home.
He should call Clint Smith.
I was like, I answered that question like 97 times, like, you know what I mean? Trying to help him. And he, at the very end, he was like, you're not answering my question. I said, listen, you're never going to get an attorney, anybody to answer that question and say, yes, you can put X amount of rounds in somebody. I was like,
well, Clint Smith answers it. He says, shoot them until they stop moving.
Oh, no, you stop the threat. That's all we do.
That's
all you're legally allowed to do.
Shoot him again. That's what he says.
2 rounds, they go down, kick the firearm away. Threat stop.
Threat stop.
Threat stop. No. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
John's shaking his head over here.
Because I know the questions that come to you and you're being nice. You're being kind. You're being a kind USCCA employee, but I can only imagine that you get that one guy, well, what if I...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you get a lot of those.
Oh, yeah. I got a lot of protest questions, actually. There's a lot. And it's good people are asking that.
Stay away from them. It's a powder keg.
Oh, stay away from protest? I can't stay away from protest.
That's the advice you get. The protest thing, okay, it's an interesting one. The protest thing is just, the problem is what people don't understand is if you're going to take a firearm if you're going to introduce a firearm into that scenario, it's too much to go wrong. There's too many variables involved in the equation, in my humble opinion, and I'm going to leave it there.
Well, hang on. So this is why everybody needs to know their freaking state laws. Gun laws are state specific, right? Mm-hmm. So the first night of protests in Alabama, Birmingham just let the shit burn down. But Hoover PD was like, we're not doing this. Mm-hmm. So they arrested 20 people on the first night to set a precedent, right? One of the guys arrested, he wasn't acting a fool. He was arrested for having a firearm. You could not bring a firearm to a demonstration in Alabama. You can even have it in your vehicle if you are going to attend a demonstration.
And that's a city ordinance, right?
State. Yeah. So, yeah, you can't bring it. So people don't get that. And I'm like, that's why you need to freaking look at our app and check out the laws, because they're like, oh, wait, hey, I see them open carrying at protests all the time. I'm like, yeah, you do. Not in Alabama. So, yeah. We can't bring a gun to it anyway.
I mean, there's too many. The thing people don't understand is there's too many variables you don't control in those scenarios. Not just from a situational awareness aspect, but just even from a life aspect. There's just too much going on, and you're putting yourself into a ball of yarn. It's just it can unravel really quick.
Well, hang on though.
And we saw that with
always
Kyle.
A choice. It's not always a choice. Sometimes you're just trying to get home. You know what I'm saying? There's situations where people are not trying to go to a protest. Mm-hmm. They're just freaking right in the middle of it.
100%. And those are, innocent bystanders in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
Now, the USCCA, you've been with them for a minute now.
Mm-hmm.
Long enough. Now you kind of see all the different clones that have popped up, different things. The USCCA has established itself as what I would consider the gold standard right now.
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their marketing and branding is pretty good. They even got that magazine. They got that rag. They got everything. They seem to be dialed in now. Let's get into the firearms business as a whole. The firearms business as a whole does such a terrible job marketing itself, and we're in an environment right now. It's terrible.
It's fucking awful.
And we're in such an environment right now that every marketing director thinks they're amazing because they're selling. Mm-hmm. But the reality is this is the time to gain, not just for the USCCA, but for other brands and other companies out there. This is a time to gain ground. And this is a great time to put good messaging out there. You have entities like Smith & Wesson that are doing a good job, but Julie Galoub's, kind of piloting that program. Shout out to Julie, by the way. Got to get her on to talk about it. She's piloting that program with the push to educate people through Smith & Wesson. And I think that's a big step in the right direction, is starting to put more streaming out there, more online stuff. But what I see, and I want to get your thoughts, Joe, is there's a lot of companies that just don't understand the power of the internet yet, and the power and the reach of what it can bring to them, and how you can literally create so many different media outlets sitting behind a computer or podcasting or streaming or putting together tutorials. Like, you would do phenomenal on an online stream on a YouTube or something like that, educating people. And you can reach so many more people at a national level. And what I don't understand is, take something like the USCCA. They do a good job too. They get it. But they could be doing so much more to develop pilot programs that reach even further and beyond the walls of which they're reaching now, because talking in rooms is very 80s, 90s. Those days, you can't reach the masses the way you can now by pushing it out to a larger entity. When you look out there, and it doesn't have to be the USCCA, when you look out there, what do you see from that standpoint? Because that's what I think would help the USCCA the most. But what do you see out there?
The biggest thing that I see, honestly, and this is also why I'm passionate about what I do, because I think that everybody is missing an entire market of people that I fit right into, and that is people who, my background is fashion. That's the industry I was in. No. So, as a woman, going into a range for the first time is awkward and uncomfortable anyway. It's a man's world. Close this door before I open this door, whatever. But sometimes I think that you have to feel like I gotta fit in. So it's like, if I can either have a gun and wear camo and low-cut tank tops and all the things, which is fine if that's who you are and your style. It's just not mine. And so my point is that, like, hey, she's partying over there. Okay. But no, for real though. So like, I want to be able to. I can be professional. Put your mic on.
Make sure your mic's bumped up.
But I can be professional. I can be stylish. I can do all the things. Wear cute little dresses, and guess what? I can have a effing Glock 19 in my bag and be able to take any threat down that I need to. Like, you don't have to go over to the other side. And I think there's men out there too. It's not just women. I think there are men that are professional. They're stylish, but they don't carry a firearm, you know what I mean? Because they don't feel like it fits them. They don't want to switch back to, cargo pants or whatever. So that's what I think that we're missing. And that's what I am super passionate about, is like, hey, you can be stylish, sweetie. You can do all the things, and let me teach you how to defend yourself.
I am so about that. Me and my daughter were actually just having a conversation about this last week. She started up this little vlog, and she loves it. But we were talking about women in the industry, and obviously she's 19, but she has been in our industry with Dark Alliance her entire life.
Yeah.
So she goes to events on multiple levels. I mean, we have clients who are, you know, transvestites. We have clients who are gay and lesbians. Right. We have a wide range. Yeah. And everybody always asks us, why did you guys get into it? Well, we got into it on a design level, but now her thinking is wanting to get into it for protection and showing that you can still be cute, classy, your tits and ass don't have to be out everywhere, and you don't have to be trolling the internet, because you'll get the same respect, if not more. How do we teach our young children, and our daughters especially, that that's okay?
By
when
example,
the trolls on the internet and those other girls are telling them, oh, well, why don't you do this? Get an OnlyFans. That'll make you rich. That'll pay for what you need. No, why don't we educate ourselves and use our brains and not our tits?
I love that I had
mine wouldn't get me very far anyway.
I love that I had the camera on you the whole time.
Oh, you're horrible. Stop it.
I love it. No, but it's true though. And so you were talking about, and that's a good point. Here's the thing. I hate technology. Literally hate technology. And it's funny because I studied cybersecurity, but I studied the war side of it. You know what I mean? Like the political, this is what we're going to do when shit goes down. So I did not even have a social media account until what day? Sunday night on a flight. I literally shit, I'm coming to John's show. And he was like, hey, I need for people to be able to find you somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So I was like,
a landing spot.
All right. Yeah. I'm on a flight. We'll just get it done. And you know, I've gotten tons of text messages and DMs and stuff already from people just being like, thank you. Yeah. Like, this is so helpful, because the page isn't just, you know, fashion and stuff like that. It's true, because I'm an instructor. So I try and, like, you know, with all of my posts, like, you're going to be getting information, you're going to be getting advice, all those types of things. And yeah, you're going to see pictures of, hey,
cute outfit.
I'm going out tonight. I love this dress. There's no place for my Glock, so let's grab this bag. You know what I'm saying? And I talk about situational awareness and all that, because I had a great question from a lady in a class 2 weeks ago, and she was like, hey, so if you're going out in a dress, and your handbag is, or your gun is in your handbag, how do you get to it in time? Because I'm situationally fucking aware. Right. Like, I never sit with my back to the door. I typically request a table that gives me the best vantage point. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And guess what? My hand would be inside my bag on my Glock before the threat is within 20 feet of me. Right. Like, I can see it coming. You know what I mean? Yourself. So anyway, plug. It's Vogue Defense. Like, Vogue Defense.
I'm down.
And that's the name of your company.
Yes.
Let me think for a second here. We're going to back up because we flew through 7 topics. That
the ladies, we got excited about the fashion. All right.
So here's where we are.
Okay. Where are we at?
We're talking about the industry and all the different cultures in it. And I know Mrs. Dark Alliance has her opinions. I know everybody in this room has their opinions. And I get it. We go to the shows. We get it. There's 97 different walks of life in the firearms business. And you're seeing now even more people flood into it. And one of the missions of the show, and one of the things that I've always liked to talk about, is you don't have to fit a cookie cutter definition of what the industry deems is acceptable. Okay? I think that this industry, because it's been run by so many gatekeepers and so many different people that at the ground level, at the high school level, have always said, you're in, you're out, you're this, you're that. I accept you, I don't accept you, I like you. Every gun owner that I know has a different story. And every self-defense expert I've had on the show has a different story. Every person interested in protecting the Second Amendment has a reason, has a story as to why that is. And I respect everybody's story. How people choose to market themselves is a function of their own attention-seeking weirdness, behavior, whatever you want to call it, that they look for. And that's why you see the things that they do. And that's fucking real. That's just, it's the truth. If you want to flash your tits, your ass, get naked, do whatever, you want to do all the things, you do those things. That's on you. The mistake is, I'm going to tell you ladies, the mistake is, I'm going to tell you everybody in this room, and even our special guest can chime in. This is the truth of the matter. The companies are the problem. It's not the people. The companies are the problem. We anoint and protect not only false gods, but people that we put on pedestals, and we put them in places of power, and we give them influence, and we give them a say, and we give them free stuff, and we give them guns, and we give them this because they have a following. But the reality is they don't have a community. They got a bunch of people looking at them, sliding into their DM, drooling, doing weird shit, and none of them are really people that they're active participants in what we're trying to do here. And what people don't understand, okay, and what companies fail to understand, the following has nothing to do with it. The community has everything to do with it. And that there's a much larger community out there. And we see it week in and week out, even with the show. Companies reach out. I didn't know that person was into shooting. I didn't know that person was into firearms. I didn't know they were into self-defense. I didn't know. You know why you didn't know? Because go look at other shows out there. I'll pick them apart for you right now, and I'll name names. They're interviewing the same 4 people. They're doing the same thing. It's the same 6 names recycled over and over and over and over again. And they're shoved down our throat. Why? Because they wear BDUs, because they wear camo, because they fit a mold or a narrative or a stereotype.
Well, it's just lazy. I mean, to be honest, it's just lazy. It's not,
because
it's industry leaders that are not taking the time. You know what I mean? Like, so we connected on LinkedIn. John and I did, you know, and it was funny because I get here today and I'm literally seeing like autographed Trump hat, pictures of you and Trump in the lobby, and I'm like, dude, I'm so fucking nobody. Who he always has on here, but he took a risk. We took a risk. Reached out on LinkedIn. He was like, "Hey, your resume is fucking crazy. Like, what's up?"
And that's what I look for.
So we he called or whatever, and we chatted for a little bit, and then it's like, "Yeah, I'll come to Vegas." But you know what I mean? Like, I'm a nobody. You know what I'm saying? That is what that is.
And what did I say?
But is the story and my instruction and what is it not relevant? No, it is relevant. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to be the person anyway who's going to be listening to the same 6 people because I don't connect with them. You know what I mean? I don't identify with them. And
the problem is most of those people that they put on a pedestal, no one can really relate to. They're really not connecting. They don't. And we have millions and millions of new gun owners that all come from all different walks of life. And, you know, Mrs. Dark Alliance brought up a good point. She said, you know, we have gay, transvestite, you name it, all the different walks of life that enjoy shooting or want to get into it. But the problem is we create these walls of almost intimidation. And we do stereotypes.
Well, yeah. And
it's
you know,
like the old, we used to joke, the old 511 ads.
Right. I see it a lot in Birmingham. So, you know, I don't think that minorities are represented at all in the industry, you know, or barely. And what was that?
I was switching.
I'm seeing sign language happening. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, no.
But it's a thing. It's a real thing. You know what I mean? And those are real conversations that need to be had because I see it. I have the conversations on the side with you know, with minorities who I'm either training or legally protecting or whatever. But that's something that is not talked about. People don't want to touch that, and we need to talk about it. 100% we need to talk about it.
Well, that's part of the you know, I wanted to create a forum where we could have open discussions, honest discussions, and we could have those conversations. When we're not having those conversations, I feel like the ball doesn't move forward. If you look at other industries and you look at successful industries, you're having conversations on a regular basis. The problem is a lot of the shows and a lot of the different things created in the firearms community have turned into glorified Glock 19 review shows. And that's what they deteriorate down to. And that's why a lot of the marketing departments turn into mag dumps in a desert, because they sit around and they say, what are we going to do for marketing this month? We got a great idea. We're going to go out into the desert and we're going to do a mag dump. And that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is there's nobody sitting there and thinking constructive. Even when you sit down and you say, we want to start a show. okay? Whether it's a tabletop show, a podcast, whatever it is. They all sit around and they be like, what are we going to talk about? Well, it has to be about the product, doesn't it? It has to be about this rail that we designed that's 0.2 pounds lighter than 0.1 ounces lighter than the rail we made last year. We have to talk about that. It's because the industry's dominated by engineers and people that they make the baby. And when they make their baby, it's their baby. And we have to talk about that.
Gotta talk about the baby.
Nobody cares about that. I'm going to say it for everybody listening and everybody who comes on the show.
Say it for the people in the back.
Nobody cares. Do you really care? Here's what we care about with our Glock. And I know ownership at Glock listens. They care that the gun goes bang. That's what they care.
100%.
The simplicity of it and that it goes bang. You're never going to sit there. And maybe because we're in the industry, we study a spec sheet. You know, maybe some of us that are really into it will study a spec sheet. But for the most part, the reality is we care about the story. And the story is something that's going to last longer.
Well, that's what's relatable. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes everything make sense and come together and makes people realize, shit, I do need to get trained and I need to do more than being able to hit a paper target. You know what I'm saying?
I've never, Joe, Mrs. Darkline, everybody in here, I've never sat down with anybody. It's true. Yeah, I know, but I like Mrs. Darklines. I've never heard anyone sit down and tell me, I got into the firearms business because I picked up this rail and it was 0.1 lighter. I've never heard. I've never heard. So what happens is the marketing department becomes a glorified spec sheet, or it's a mag dump in the desert. We're gonna do something really cool.
Videos of tits and ass.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do a mag dump and listen.
That's like back in the day. It was like the magazines that had like on top of the car.
Yeah,
like you were literally getting one tiny little segment of human beings.
Yeah,
with that FYI. Just you're not even getting all men. You're getting like one tiny segment of guys that are into girls on cars.
What about the gay guys? They don't want to see.
What about the gay guys?
And that's the greater point. Is there's segments abandoned. There's a lot of segments that get abandoned in the whole equation of things, and that's part of the issue. That's part of the problem. And the reality is, if the industry doesn't open its eyes sooner with all the millions and millions of new gun owners, and I say millions and millions, literally.
Women,
they're coming around. They're doing a lot better now. Better. I didn't say good. She knows I'm a huge proponent of the women, but it's better. They're doing better. Yeah. But it's also the onus has to go back on the women. There's great companies out there. Like I love what Amy Robbins is doing at Alexo Athletica. There's a lot of brands that I love and support that are rising up and starting to stake their claim. And I think the women have to do a better job sticking that flag in the sand, so to speak. And I think that they will. You have great leaders, Julie Galoob, Diana Mueller. There's so many great ones. But the reality is they have to get their head out of their ass and realize, everybody has to get their head out of their ass and realize that there is a great big universe out there, and you literally are abandoning so many market segments that it's not even funny.
Right.
If I can sit here, to everybody listening, and this is the truth, you can think I'm a total moron. And those of you, some of you listening may. But if I can sit here and literally pull the people that I pull onto this show, the quality of guests, and if I had $1 for every time I had somebody in, and Audrey will tell you this, that they literally are like, you know, I've never got to sit with someone and talk about guns this way. I've never got to have a conversation like this. Or like, wow, I never really understood it this way. Yes, some of that's on them, but part of it is the messaging that we're putting out there. All they see is a mag dump in the desert, or all they see is a cheesy Instagram video or a shoot fast guy out there. And that's not marketing. That's not real.
Well, I don't think they've identified who they're marketing to. I think it's just the same shit that has been done
I'll tell you the problem.
for a very long time, marketing themselves.
No, you're hitting a chord with me, because I'll tell you what the problem is.
I feel like at any moment we are going to experience the John that we experienced this morning when he was telling the story.
No, don't tell that story.
No, I'm not telling the story.
He's coming.
Oh,
I see it in his green eyes.
I can feel it's coming.
I'm going to tell you.
The anger is coming out again.
I'll tell you the problem, and may the person behind me strike me dead. He knows it's the truth. The reality of the problem is, this is the real reality, is a lot of marketing directors start out with noble intentions and they want to do different things. The problem is a lot of the owners and leadership step in and they fuck it all up. They fuck it all up. They ruin it completely. And honest to God, if you go back, I think it was on Rogan, he had what's his face on from Boston, the comedian, and he goes, when he did the Spotify deal, he said it. He goes, the corporations are going to come into podcasts and they're going to fuck it all up. Because what happens is these marketing directors, they're not bad. I mean, I can name 5 really good ones out there right now. But the corporations step in and they say, we have a great idea. We're going to change the game, and we're going to do this. And whatever this is, it's always most of the time, such a terrible idea. It's like 1990s marketing thrown up all over the table. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it over and over and over.
It's a really
again.
solid point you're making right now. It's actually, I've been in business for years, and that's pretty much how it goes down.
That's why COVID, the best thing to ever happen to marketing and firearms business, COVID. It's the best thing. It's the greatest thing.
So you're saying with the
firearms. So you're saying you like
COVID?
No,
so the reason being is it's forcing, the reason being is it's forcing the companies to start to think out of the box to do different, it's forcing them. It's literally forcing their hand. And it's forcing them to grow up a lot faster. And I think it was Brittany May, who I had on, she was like, what the problem is? A lot of the companies, you meet them, because she's met a million marketing directors. She's an instructor. She's badass. She goes, there's a lot of nice guys, John. There's a lot of people that get hired that they're a nice guy. Oh, he's a nice guy, though. He's got a couple years left. He's got the kids in school. He's a nice guy. Or they're nice. And they really don't understand what people want. And they don't understand what resonates with people. And they don't fully understand that to create a good program, something that appeals, whether it's to the women's market or to the gay and lesbian community or to any community that they're trying to reach. And I even look at the black community and what's going on in the firearms business there. I pay close attention to it because I love seeing the black FFL owners. I'm trying to get one on right now. I'm in the process of it. The folks that are speaking up in that community is Tactical Carls out there. There's a bunch of guys. And they're doing some really cool stuff. You have Black Rambo out there. There's some different stuff going on, and he's interesting. I get it, but there's so many cool different people out there, and they're they're figuring it out. They're coming along, and they're doing their own marketing and their own take on it. But really, the reality is, companies need to grab a hold of some of these strategies and need to start to create strategies. The fact that they're not streaming regularly, the fact that they're not even now you're seeing it a little bit, but the fact that there's no regularity to it. It blows my mind. But another aspect, another wrinkle to it is, and I've talked to these companies, this is insanely inside baseball to everybody listening. They don't want to spend the money either to get quality people in that can create content right there in their building and create quality content and push it out into the masses. They all want to, but they don't want to pay for it. And the reality is they just end up saying, oh, fuck it. We'll just, we'll try to make another wheel. We'll try to make another widget. We'll make another AR-15, or we'll do this, or we'll let everything sit on the shelf until something blows up and then everybody will buy it anyway. And that's what they do. Mm-hmm. So there's never ground is almost never gained in so many ways because of that failure. I think the industry you're in with the USCCA presents a unique argument because you can do a lot of different things with that. And you can be insanely inventive. Like, why the USCCA? They don't have their own podcast network, do they? No. It's like, why the USCCA doesn't have 4 or 5 shows? It's just, I could go on. But and I know they'll listen, and I know they'll understand what I'm saying, but it's not expensive. You need 2 mics.
I mean, we have an entire production team at our headquarters. That's what they do.
And honestly, right. I've had this conversation with companies. Audrey's seen me do it. I'm like, what do they do?
Give us a minute, all right?
But no, I'm not picking on you. I'm saying
no. But there's
she's taking responsibility.
Well, I will say, here's the thing. I'm going to think about the USCCA. So
I'm not picking on them, by the way.
No,
it's just in general.
But I'm telling you. So it is not an easy company to get a job with. I had to take multiple personality tests. I had to go up to West Bend for 3 weeks of training. I had to pass 2 exams to stay there. And then literally on your final day, you have to speak to basically our entire board. If there's a C in the initial, and they're there, the attorneys are there, everything. And guess what? Not everybody makes it past that. So there are a lot of really, really, really inventive, very smart people that work at our headquarters. And I know they've got, I know what they're doing. And obviously there's things I can't talk about, but just trust me when I say that we're going to get there real fast.
And it's not a come down on them. They're a great team. It's just, and I would say if they weren't, they're a great team. It's just, the reality is this stuff isn't hard. And a lot of companies, like coming back to, like I said, the owners, they screw it up because they overthink it, and they're trying to put. I've lived it.
Right.
I've worked at a company where it's like, well, how do we get the gun in the shot? How do we get the this in the shot? How do we get that in the shot? How do we get, but we have to talk about the new mag and the new mag. Listen, and I try to explain to them. I go, that's a spec sheet. We can do a show around just the gun and the mag, but I think you have to have other layers, because now coming back to OnlyFans and other things that you brought up, people want to watch people literally sit at home today and make eggs. Like, that's what they want to do. People want to watch, they want to see the normal shit.
Kids like playing with toys and mom reviewing them.
Like, you see your story that you told today that you shared, which is a personal. Thank you it's a beautiful story in so many ways because you're willing to share it.
Oh.
Right?
It's like,
no,
did he not understand the story? I thought I was pretty descriptive. There's
no,
nothing beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Nothing beautiful about that.
It's a beautiful share. And thank you for sharing it. And it's important that story be shared. But the fact that you could go around, I could set up a microphone tomorrow and literally go and interview every USCCA person and create a show around just that tomorrow. And it would be amazing content and would endear you to every instructor and every person. And you literally need a microphone and a fucking cell phone to do it. Wait. You literally, that's all you need. Let me say this. And you need a plane ticket to go to each person. It's not expensive. And these are people, not picking on the UC, the NRA, anybody. You could make a show around that. And it's not an expensive thing to do, because these companies spend money. They'll spend $400,000 on a booth. To target people that they already have as customers.
All right, here's the deal. So, not tech savvy, hate technology.
Same.
However, I do have a very nice cabana for the rest of the day today. And so if anybody wants to come and drinks are on me, then you can teach me how to do this shit. And I'll start recording stuff. I literally have no clue how to do it.
Let's do it.
Like, you could do a show literally around the people you teach, right? With disclosure, right?
Yeah.
And the point I'm getting at, guys, without going on rabbit holes, is
it's too late, man.
But this isn't hard to figure all this out. It's not hard. I love being accused of being all the things, and I know you've seen it. I've been accused of everybody in this room's seen it. I'm not that smart, right? Why do I think of these things?
Well, you're inventive, for sure.
Great imagination.
Is he not? Yeah, very. And I think you like to be a little bit of a game changer. I think he likes to rock the boat a little bit.
But is that really? That's what we were talking about the other day offline. Is that really rocking the boat, though?
No, it's not.
I don't think it is.
But you're doing something that other people aren't doing. You see what I'm saying? So no, everybody should be doing it, but you were just one of the first to do it.
We live in such a sensitive world that anything rocks the boat.
Anything.
Hi. Oh my God. She said hi to me.
Literally.
How could you? Why would you?
Oh, no, true story. I need a 20-second true story. So I was actually doing a seminar at Hoover Tactical Firearms like a month ago. And this woman came in there, her face black and blue. Yeah, because 5 o'clock the previous day, daylight out, right? She was in a grocery store parking lot. And there was a car that the person had not put in park, and it was rolling out of its space. So she put her window down. She's like, hey, your car's rolling. All right, just nice person, right? The other person comes over to her vehicle because her window was down now, grabs her by the hair, pulls her head out of the window, and
You're
starts
lying.
beating her face in, saying, "Stay out of my effing business." True story. True story. I have a million more just like that. Just because of what I do. You know what I mean? I find out all the time.
I couldn't listen to all that.
Yeah. It's a lot. If you thought Birmingham was dangerous before, let's just add COVID and all the things. Shit show.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How does this play out? Where do you want to see this go between now, the election, and what changes do you want to see, at least as a whole?
Did you just ask me about the election?
No.
Did.
Yes,
I'm not
you
asking
did.
about I'm saying through the election.
Did. Okay, listen.
Because obviously that'll be a systemic risk.
We all
can't
know it's
control.
going to get worse. So the question is, depending on who gets elected, this is my personal opinion, it's the longevity of how bad things gets is going to be based on this election 100%. So all I can do is educate people, train people, legally protect people. Like, seriously, I stay out of all the other stuff. I watch every debate. You know what I'm saying? I make my decision on prior. I vote, but all the other things politically, I have no time for that in my life.
And how does it play out for the USCCA? Because we're in a bad state right now in terms of being able to manufacture and get everything out. And we're going to have insane, the reason I bring up the election is we're going to have insane demand leading up to it. And what I'm getting at is, in your mind, just being in the firearms business, how does this all play out? So
the USCCA is on fire right now. And here's the thing. So I'm legally protected. Okay. I'm an elite member of the USCCA. So I have $2.25 million any and every single time shit goes down. And I got to defend myself, right? I've had it because it's stupid not to. It'd be like driving a vehicle without car insurance, which the worst thing that can happen there is you got to pay some fucking money if you get in a wreck. I'm not going to jail per se.
Right.
However, this is what has changed. I moved into a new building, downtown Birmingham, and there's violent crime happening right outside where I live, every single night. This is the first time where I don't feel I feel it's when I'm going to have to defend myself. And that for me is a game changer. And I think people are feeling that as well, because typically in the firearm industry, mass shooting, whatever, we're always going to see a spike in gun sales. This is the first time from my experience, I've seen a huge spike in training. I think people realize, thank God, buying a gun and keeping it in the box in your closet is not going to work. I think people are actually feeling like, hey,
it's a good point.
Shit's going to go down and I'm going to have to actually be able to use this gun. So for me, that's where I think it's going. That's why, business is fantastic for the USCCA, because people get it. You know what I mean? They get it. Hey, I need to be educated. I need to be trained. And I sure as shit need to be legally protected. Because like I tell people, I'm like, listen, you think that jury of 12 is going to look and think just like you? Hell no. That's not the prosecutor's job, So they're not necessarily going to be Second Amendment fans, whatever. No. So,
but I would be more likely to train if this is a very important point, and I want to get your take on it. I would be more apt to train if I saw an ad with you telling your story run across all the different platforms, as opposed to, and I'm going to pick on the USCCA. I'm picking on you for a second, Kevin. But I'm going to pick on for a second.
Klowski.
No.
Sorry, Kevin.
But no, yeah, he needs to know I say this with love.
I know what he's going to say.
As opposed to seeing an ad that's giving away a free fanny bag and a hat. Because to me, that just is a disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The gun industry, it's a gear industry. You know what I mean? It is. People like it. People like the free shit. I'm with you, though, that doesn't make me join. It doesn't.
Doesn't make me join.
It doesn't make me join. What makes me join, and this is how I get a ton of members, is because I'm fucking passionate about it. But I also, I cover all of the, hey, this is all the free training and education you're going to get, and here's why it's so freaking important. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree with you.
But that's a solid point he just made. Solid point. That, hey, you want to be able to join the USCCA? Hey, guess what?
Because I'm willing to
bet
that there's more employees that have stories like yours, maybe not exactly the same, but there's a reason they got driven into that career path and into that space. And I'd like to hear their story. I mean, if someone stood up there and said, this is what happened to me, I'd be like, damn, I got to go buy that insurance. I never would have wanted to buy USCCA insurance. After hearing your story here, it actually makes me want to consider buying it.
It's a no-brainer.
The backpack and the free Skittles never going to make me go buy.
No. But the rest, the whole purpose of it, you know what I'm saying? The fact that I have $250,000 sitting there for me for my criminal defense and $2 million on civil, I would never ever not have that ever. You know what I mean? It's less than half the price of my freaking car insurance. Like, it's just a no-brainer.
Now, there's a huge resurgence in blogging and you know, I'm glad it's come back because I think writing has a place. It's good to start to see people writing again and blogging, and even what I call the vlog or the video blog or whatever you want to call it. And I think that there's a huge spot for that. And I think that, you know, we don't capitalize it on enough as an industry, and we don't harness it enough as an industry. And even on myself, and I put it to task to other people that I work around and I'm with, I think just putting your thoughts out there is a good thing, is a healthy thing. Putting some of your stuff down on paper. It used to be like if you wrote it was like therapy, or if you put that stuff out there, it's like therapy. And it's good to kind of start to put those things out there. And I just, you know, I look at different industries and I look at different spaces and I study them and I try to see what they're doing. I just would like to challenge the entire industry and the people in it to start to have more constructive conversations, start to put more out there in the blog space, start to have more conversations with each other and create dialogue. And in that open and honest dialogue, and that's what I try to explain to people even on LinkedIn, because I know I'm an animal on LinkedIn, but I try to tell them we need to provoke a conversation. We need to have thought-provoking stuff. In every other industry, it's okay to have thought-provoking conversations. In the medical field, that's all that happens 24/7. It's a constant fight over medical treatment, over this, over that. In our industry, it's like, oh my God, you can't question that. How dare you? You know, you can't say no to that. What are you, out of your mind? Oh my God, that flashlight, you can't use that. You have to use one that burns someone's face off in 37 seconds. So the reality is just having an open and honest debate and be able to have one is half the battle, and then being able to have a conversation. And a lot of people can't do that. And that's what's going to hold this business back for a lot longer. You're doing that. You're in the field doing that as a part of USCCA, and you're putting a great message out there, and you're being insanely helpful to the people that you're sitting with, offering them knowledge, telling them your story, sharing. But I just think you're doing it on a one-to-one, and I think you could be doing it on a much grander scale. And if everyone hates me for saying that, then fuck me. I don't know what to say. But I think you can do it on a grander scale, and I think you can reach a lot more people.
So cabana party later?
I'm with you, girl.
So we're going to be drinking in my cabana, and she's going to be teaching me how to do. She'll be working. You'll be paying her, okay?
Yeah. Oh, I get paid?
Wait a minute. This is a volunteer operation here. So here's the thing.
He'll buy dinner.
Here's the thing. Here's the deal. I wanna. That's a story for another time. Here's the deal. I love this business just like everybody else here. I think we all do. And I think there's so much that can be accomplished, and there's a lot of good work being done out there. And I think you're at the tip of one of those spears. And I think that goes under discussed, undernourished, and we could do a better job of it. That's all. I mean, it's really that simple. What all these entities decide to do in their infinite wisdom, whatever. Right? We can't control that. But I think the reality is, to all the brands out there that say, you know, don't go out and create your own platform, don't go out and develop your own place to talk, your own voice. And we've seen that many times in this business. Executives or key people don't want to necessarily go out and develop their own platform, and you started yours. I think that's a huge mistake. I think it's a giant, giant, giant mistake, because here's what I think. I think the days of the resume are over. I think they're done. I just think it's finished. Your resume is literally a living resume out there on social media. And your resume should be literally, here's where I went to school, here's the last 5 places I worked. There it is. The rest is all readily available. I mean, that's all I view what I do. It's literally a living resume out there. And I put it all out there for the public to consume and form their own opinion. And I think that the more we our stories are what shape us, and the more we share them, the more that's what's going to endear people to the things we're passionate about and what we're trying to do. And I think this industry has a lot of passion, but we're just not conveying it in the best light. And coming back to the people that are gaslighting or putting things out there that maybe we don't agree with, or sharing photos that we're like, this isn't depictive of who we are, that's a systemic industry problem because of the support that they get from various companies and various organizations. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. And they should take some ownership of that. And the stories that should be being put at the forefront, the great stories, we do a good job putting the veteran community at the forefront. We do a good job we could do a better job with the law enforcement. We do a good job with the law enforcement community putting that out there. We could do a better job of it now in light of things. But I'll always put more pressure on us. And I think we should. But I think stories coming from the civilian community, the everyday community, talking about the things that they go through, talking about what provokes them or why they like to do these things, opens up so many more market segments that we haven't even begun to explore. And I could literally hold a candle to the amount of times that I've sat with someone and they're like, we didn't know that this person was this, or we didn't know that that person was that, or we didn't know this person was into this, or we didn't know. It's happened. And I'm like, how did you get into the marketing? How did you get into, how do you not see it? Because understanding who your customer is the most important thing. And then reaching them. That's all I got to say about it.
He's not dumb. No, that's brilliant, and it's
John
spot on.
Bartolo University here.
Right. Yeah. No, he's spot on with all of that. Everything you just said. Now he's texting.
Of course.
So, what do you want me to have brought to the pool? I'm assuming not. How many vodkas did you say you had last night?
No, not last night.
Not last night.
The other night.
The other night. Yeah.
Too much.
Too much.
So, sorry, I got a couple calls.
You know what? They need blackjack at the pool.
I meant to turn my phone off.
It's just
my
phone.
They
have blackjack at the pool?
Yes,
where? Because then I had the best.
No, listen.
Right. Are you back now?
No.
Are you done texting?
Yeah, no.
We're back.
You know what happens when
We're
the phone rings 3 times in a row? So I think somebody died. I'm like, what's going on? It's the truth. No,
And then he wasn't there for the call.
And I can't. Yeah, no, it's true. But I can't thank you enough for coming in. It means a lot, seriously. And one of the reasons I enjoyed your story and I liked having you on was the background. I told you that from day one, and I meant it. And I think having more and more people with that diversity in their background, that diversity in their past, and I didn't know your story. I didn't.
Nope.
You told, we talked a little bit about it offline and what you were willing to discuss and bring to the table.
And I appreciate
that. And I think that sharing it and putting it out there is tremendously brave. It's not easy to do. And I can't thank you enough for it. And I hope that people understand what is really important. And I think USCCA does a great job with their messaging. I think they do a great job as a whole. I knew who they were before, so that's step one, right? I knew who they were. But we have to keep putting pressure on ourselves. Always.
100%.
So let everybody know where they can find you, all the handles, where they can reach you, and how they can get in touch with you.
Find me on Instagram.
Plug everything.
Find me on Instagram, Vogue Defense, VOGUE. That's it. Or you can call me. People do it all the time.
What region are you in?
I'm in Alabama, but I can actually protect people anywhere in the U.S.
So USCCA, anywhere in the U.S.
Anywhere in the U.S.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time, coming in, sharing. It's been fun. And
well, I appreciate you.
And you're always and you're always welcome back. I mean, to share any story. So can't thank you enough. I want to take a minute and thank the USCCA too. Appreciate those guys.
They're great. Genuinely
do. I've had Kevin on. I've had other guests on the past. So I appreciate them. They do a good job. But we got to put more pressure on ourselves. We have to, because the stakes are going up.
Oh God. Yeah, even higher than they already have this year. Even higher. And
got to get more messages out there. So I want to thank all the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. I want to thank Rhino Metals, Gallo Technologies, Blackwater Ammunition, Galco Leather, Riton Optics. Got to thank all them. Show wouldn't happen. Yeah, shout out to Pink Box Donuts. Why not? Yeah. Got a backdrop in here. Appreciate them. Thank you, Judy and Steve. And leave a review. Everywhere podcasts are heard. Go check them out. I'll put the link for USCCA down below. Go check them out. Go check out Joanna. She's starting her Instagram. Go help her out. Give her a follow. Tap a like. Something. We got everything? We got everything, right?
Got it all covered.
All right. Mrs. Dark Alliance says we're good. We're out.
See ya.